Hello. Sorry. Takes a little while to get this going. I have to unplug my controller because for some reason the PS3 emulator freaks out if certain third-party controllers are hooked up. So I have to unplug it, plug it back in, load Cheat Engine, connect it to the game, and then load the 60 FPS, and then I have to wait for it to register, which is why I haven't turned off the frame rate thing in the upper left-hand corner. Takes a bit to work with. Alright, as long as you get to the title screen, good to go. Black screen. There we go. Okay, so now I gotta load up Cheat Engine. Go. Bingo. Actually, I think I'm gonna go ahead and turn off that 60 FPS thing, the frame rate thing, because it's I actually have important stuff over there I need to look at this game. Apply. Does that get rid of it? Let's see. Yeah, it's gone now. Yeah, I can just look in the upper left-hand corner. Don't need all that.
俺は天の道を全てを司る男。俺は地獄を生きてきた。
How's it going? I'm alright. Definitely feeling better than I was. I was feeling like complete shit. That's why I kind of didn't really run a stream yesterday. I needed to take an honest break. Just not upload anything.
よく見ておけ。本当の太陽の輝きを。
お前も妹のために戦っているのか。
キャストを。俺と戦おうと。正気だ。甘い。俺は人を守るためにライダーになった。どいてろ。甘い。
てててて。負けるわけにはいかないんだ。
お出迎えか。人気者は強い。甘い。俺は一番強い。どいてろ。甘い。当然。俺は一番強い。どいてろ。甘い。どいてろ。俺の進化は光よりも速い。甘い。甘い。
This game is really good. It's I rank it. It's definitely not as good as Musara. It's pretty close. I think on my tier list I rated this like A tier, second tier. This game is really good. It's just Japan only and bad frame rate, and then also really restrictive recording limitations on PS4. So definitely hurt a lot of people that don't have capture equipment. And I know this. I'm not saying this as a derogatory thing. I got affected by it as well because when this game came out, my computer was in the shop for like a month. I could like barely make any content for this game because they had to be really draconian and limited for some reason. So that definitely hurt its reach as well. It's not an IP that's popular outside of Japan, mostly because they're dickwads and they don't release it over here. It's better than when this game came out. I mean, when this game came out, there was this game came out, there was no legal Kamen Rider that you could watch at all. It all had to be torrent. It's gotten a little better at least.
キック
Ooh! Oh yeah.
手を貸せ。
どいてろ 俺の進化は光よりも速い甘いこれ以上の戦いは許すな
over.
これ以上の戦いは許さない 甘い
Clock over. Clock.
甘い
Clock over.
マジかよこんなしまってろすぐに行くこうなったら相手になってやる俺の進化にはついていけない
Clock over. 1, 2, 3. Clock.
甘い
Clock over.
リーダー同士が戦う必要なんてないキック絶対に死ねない甘い甘い
Yeah, you can't record anything in this game on
随分手間をかけさせてくれたな
except the survival mode, which isn't it's not that bad, but I don't know. This game doesn't really have a lot of cutscenes anyway. It's they put pretty much all their dev time and resources into making sure that there's like 40 completely unique characters to play as, which is a better thing to do for a Musou. Maybe not for like an RPG or something, but for something like this that's almost completely just gameplay, it was a good choice. But for some reason they're like, nah, you can't stream the story mode for some reason. There's like a mid cutscene, mid-story cutscene when you fight Shadow Moon here, and then like not much else. There are a lot of cool story interactions if you watch the shows, and you can read Japanese, of course, because the game's not translated. But it's all told in visual novel style. But yeah, you couldn't stream this mode at all. They completely cut you off from doing it, which is kind of dumb in my opinion. I don't really understand why. This game is all about fan service, and you get like above average gameplay too. So if you like Kamen Rider, it's a good game, just because of all the fan service and all the characters you can play as. But then if you just like Musou, this game is really good too. It's different kind of fan service than boobies. So, Actually, a lot of cool fan service in this game. A lot of the actors came back as well. His actor came back to reprise the voice. Ryuki did as well. Decade. Wizard and Gaim did. Drive did as well. These guys don't count because they were the currently airing season when the game was made. Yeah, a bunch of the actors came back for this too, which is pretty cool. I mean, you don't really need to do that. There's only like one human in this game. It's the Tokugawa guy from O's. This series. Other than that, well, yeah, no, you can see Takeshi Hongo as well. He's in this game too. But that's why I find it weird that people say that this series is just for kids, because it's like they wouldn't do that if it was for kids, right? The kids don't care. All they would care about is these. Arguably up to here, so 4 years, they would care. They would notice it's not the same voice actor, but then they're doing it for... This series was over a decade old when this game was made. Anyway, let's see who I want to play next. Go for Drive.
脳細胞トップギアだぞ。
俺は運命と戦う。
一っ走り付き合えよ。もう考えるのやめだ。おりゃフィーリングでしょ。俺はもう誰かがこの袋を見たくないんだ。僕にもやらせてよ。さて釣りの始まりだ。さて行くよ。僕に釣られてみる。 俺以上暴れるようなヒントを確保する。僕にだってできることがあるはず。よくやったな。今日の釣りはいまいちみたい。なんや。ここは俺が締めんとな。おりゃ。
just playing some weep trash. I mean, that's kind of what I normally do, but this is a special occasion because this game doesn't run at like 20 FPS anymore. Nah, I looked at that game. Looks like every other Souls game. I disagree. I watched a couple hours of that game. At least it runs really well. I mean, that's deserves some credit for that. This year's been hellish to be a PC gamer. So they took their port seriously. I think they deserve a lot of credit. It might not be something I want to play, but hearing reports that the port is very good. You can even like run it on the Steam Deck at a pretty respectable frame rate, which is pretty impressive. Korea's going to change the landscape of PC ports because the rest of the world can't do it right anymore. It used to be just Japan that had the bad PC ports. Now it's everyone. No matter where you're from, you can't make a good PC port anymore. It's not just Japan anymore.
あ、いいな。僕もやる。お前倒すよ。いいよね。答えは聞いてない。
I think Lies of P might be one of the best PC ports this year. From what I've seen, I haven't played it myself, but it looks surprisingly competent. Especially because that company has not made any large-scale games. They're mostly an indie publisher. I have a bunch of their games actually. I like a lot of the NeoWiz games. They're kind of up my alley. More smaller niche stuff like this. They're not like massive games, but I guess maybe they were doing that to fund the Pinocchio game, and I guess somebody at their office was like, hey, we should make this actually work on PC. Not be a dumpster fire port for a change, and it seems to be working quite well. It's not easy to make a Souls-like, but they've actually made one that seems like it's on par with the stuff that FromSoft does in terms of like the scope and the amount of content it has. It has way more than a lot of the other Souls-likes do, which is like the main problem with that genre. You can do stuff better than FromSoft. It's not hard, but the problem is the scope of those games is like way smaller. So the reviews are pretty much all the same. It's like, well, you know, this game was cool and I might have liked it better than a FromSoft game, but you know, it was over in like 10 hours. So I think it's pretty impressive that they've managed to not only deliver a good PC port, but also have like an amount of content that people expect from that kind of game, which is like at least a couple dozen hours. Probably not something I'll ever play unless it gets like heavily modified to have combat I would like, but I can appreciate other aspects of it, for sure. It's a functional game on day one. It doesn't stutter or crash or run like crap on good computers. No, it's Unity that's doing that, and they've already pretty much backpedaled.
ここが踏ん張りどころやな。
しょうがない。ここはみんなで力を合わせて。
行くぜ行くぜ行くぜ。
釣ろうなんて千年早いよ。やればできるんだ。
It doesn't really matter, they've burnt through. It's gonna be hard to bring that level of trust back. They can just do something like that. Apparently Unity has like not made any money. They haven't been profitable for a while. They just don't know of a non-scummy way to make money. I think there's also an issue where like, since they're tracking installs, they've basically been collecting data from people without consent, which is illegal, obviously. It's like, Sega tried to do that with Yakuza 7. They tried to make it so you had to pay for New Game Plus, which is nuts, because that should be like a basic gameplay feature, right? You shouldn't have to pay for New Game Plus, even if it comes after release. You shouldn't have to pay for it. It should be something that's free. So when they brought that game over here, when they translated it, they made it free. Trying to pull a fast one, pretty much. Trying to squeeze people for money every cent that they have. There's no logical or ethical reason to do something like that other than just screwing people over. Apparently they're trying to do that again with the new Yakuza games. It's like a $15 pack you have to buy just to get New Game Plus. Fuck, I'm not paying for that. At most, that should be a free post-launch update if they can't get it out on time. None of this. We're gonna make it, make you pay for it. Companies will do anything to make money. Do anything to make money. It's just funny when they try to pull fast ones like that and they get shocked that people clap back.
手伝わせてください
ライダーキック
頑固で根性あるじゃねえか。
俺は世界がある限り俺はある
Diablo 4 is a good example. They had something in that game where you had to push a button to enable the premium battle pass, and they had no confirmation for it at all. So you could push a button and redeem it, and then they had to apologize for that. And then they put out that patch that like completely neutered the game into the ground. And then they had to like apologize for like 2 hours straight on their stream. You can tell with that game, what they're trying to do is they're trying to slow down progression because they want the player count to be high because it looks good to their investors and stuff. The problem is that Diablo 4 has like no endgame content at all. It's fun. It's fun for a while. You know, when you went up the world tiers, because I played the game for like like a week or two. I did like that weird week where I was like mostly just playing that. I wasn't playing like my normal niche stuff, but I got burnt out really fast because there just wasn't much of a gameplay hook. It's just like the loot sucked. The loot sucked, and it felt like what progression was slowed to keep you playing longer, but there just wasn't anything in the game to warrant playing longer. It felt like probably only played like 30-40 hours of it. It wasn't like that much time. Obviously, I'm back playing weeb trash like this again, so I didn't get addicted or anything. I uninstalled the game. It's just like, if you want people to play longer, instead of making everything just slow to a crawl and have like nothing interesting happening, there's no interesting progression or anything, it just kind of like stops at like level 70, you should have more content in the game that's worth doing and give people worthwhile rewards for doing so, instead of just nerfing the game into the ground. It's like one or the other. Korean MMOs and gacha games have had that stuff figured out for ages. They have ways to make you play for longer, but they have like a wealth of content that makes it so you don't mind that much. You don't mind if there's a stamina system, or you don't mind if it's like a little bit slower than something like this, which is a one-time purchase and it's not intended to be played for like 4,000 hours. I don't know. Blizzard just dropped the ball. You can tell they're really desperate because they already announced like everything about the second season. Because Path of Exile 2 looks a hell of a lot better than anything Diablo 4 has to offer currently. They have a lot of competition right now. The only thing that's really making them money is the fact that they're a much larger company than any of the competition. But I think they're learning that that's not it's not the be-all end-all for sure. Let's see how I feel like playing next. The campaign of Diablo 4 really sucked too. I mean, even if you liked the story, which obviously I didn't really care about, the campaign was pretty glacially paced. A lot of waiting around for people, and you couldn't skip voice lines. The open world was too big. Open world was too big. The horse sucked. The horse definitely felt like something that they strictly designed not for player convenience. It was strictly to make you play longer. The horse sucked. If you got off the horse, it was like, what, like a 15-second cooldown or something? It's like, come on, man. How are you gonna have horses better, horses and mounts and vehicles better in something like this, which was made with like 1% of the budget of Diablo 4, and also came out 7 years ago, than something that came out like, what, like 3 months ago? It's like, come on, man. I feel like there's a pretty big argument for not even having horses and mounts in those kinds of games where you have to traverse long distances constantly. I would rather just sprint. It's the same goes for Musou games as well. I think the Musou games that flow the best are the ones where you don't have to get into a vehicle. The horse in Diablo 4 is worse than like even like PS2 era Musou games, where you had to awkwardly get on the horse and off, and like the detection was really janky. You couldn't get on it while moving, you had to come to a complete stop. That horse is still better than the one that's in Diablo 4, which is just sad. Because we know that these games are made on shoestring budgets. They're not massive productions, they're not in development for like 5 years, and they don't cost like 300 million to make. It's just sad. How are you gonna have better vehicle controls in something like this, which is like a budget weeb trash game, than a multi-hundred million dollar project like a Diablo game? It's just pathetic. Everything about that game just felt like convenience and fun be damned. We're just gonna make everything take long so that it looks good that we have people logged on. I don't know. I had some fun with it. But the community is legit depressing for that game. It reminds me of the Avengers community. That community couldn't seem to grasp that the game is not going to be what they want it to be. Avengers was like, dude, they don't know how to make a service game. They suck at it. It doesn't matter how much you suggest. It's going to be a trash game. Avengers actually had pretty decent combat. The thing that was mostly wrong with that game was how much hit stun there was. It got hit by stuff off-screen constantly. It felt like a Ninja Gaiden game in that regard. And then the loot was garbage. Their loot team, the people that were in charge of the progression and stuff, just utterly failed. The loot was just awful. It was boring. It felt like it didn't really add in. There were some cool builds that you could make, but it felt like more of a result of the way that the character worked instead of the build like actually changing. Like, I had that build with Black Widow where I could be like invisible like 90% of the time. That was kind of fun, but there was barely anything else like that in the game. The loot was just boring. If you're gonna have loot in the game, it should be impactful, right? It shouldn't feel like you could just take it out and have like no difference. Even Musou games manage to make the stuff that you get impactful. There might still be too much of it, but at least it does something. And you can have some semblance of a personal playstyle with the things that they give you. Avengers was mostly just basic stat increases. That's just a problem with video games now, though, is like they all feel like they have to have loot. It's like, if you're gonna have loot, it should actually fucking do something. If it doesn't do anything, then it's just pointless to pick it up, and then also inventory management is constantly a problem as well, where you spend so much time getting rid of useless trinkets instead of, like, actually playing the game. I'd argue the way that this game does it is better, because it's like it's all set. There's no random loot, but you can make builds with it. and you can actually make like play styles with it. I'm trying to find all the figures right now. Yeah, Diablo 4 loot was just really boring. Kind of what turned me off that game, because I like builds. I like action RPGs. I don't really play a lot of the Diablo-style ones, but I do like action RPGs. I like making builds and finding broken stuff and like having my own way to play the game, but the loot just wasn't very impactful. It was really boring, actually. It's like most like basic stuff. But yeah, the Diablo 4 community is a lot like the Avengers community, or they don't understand that like they don't have competent people working on it, and if they do, they're being told by management to make the game suck. Because people who pay the bills at game companies don't actually play games. All they're concerned about is making as much money as possible. A lot of times, people that actually make the games want to clap back, but you know they can't. Not in a position of power. I felt like I got my money's worth out of the game, especially since I paid with it with money from kitty sitting, so I didn't mind too much. I'm just like not going to complain about the game on a forum for 30 hours a day. It's like I got my $70 worth and I moved on. And if it gets better later on, I'll try it again, but I don't really feel like posting on a forum about it for 30 hours and wanting it to be better. I'm like, yeah, I've got better games to play already. Playing this weep trash from 7 years ago instead of playing that game because I'm actually having fun. Yeah, I did buy Diablo 2 Remastered. I did buy that game. I haven't played it yet. But that was on sale for $12 like a month or two ago or something. I do have that. You know, I'm old, so I did grow up with Diablo 2. I was like 14 when that game came out. Later.
Lock over.
See, this bike in this weep trash shoestring budget game is better than the one that's in Diablo 4. See? this bike is better than the horse. Weeb Trash Japan only game from 2016 has better vehicle traversal than a game that just came out in June. Let that sink in for a second. This is also a series where in the show they like barely use the bike anymore because of like laws that they have in Japan where you can't ride like custom-made bikes in a lot of the places that they use for filming. They still have better traversal in this. They barely even use the bike in Kamen Rider anymore. It's always funny when they roll up to a fight, so they just run, and there's like no explanation for it. The explanation is real world stuff, like their laws in Japan that made it a lot harder for them to film with the actual bikes. Remember one time when Kamen Rider Meteor, the guy that's in my profile picture, he straight up just runs up. He runs up. He doesn't pull up in anything but his own body. All sectors combined.
随分手間をかけさせてくれたな。
There's a lot to be said, Fuma, for loot being something that they put in video games just because it's popular, but like the game doesn't actually need it. There's a lot to be said about that. You see how many games have loot and crafting now, and like the loot sucks. Loot, crafting, and skill trees, but like the skill trees are mostly just like doing 3% more damage, which is not interesting. It's just a boring grind. They could just give you that by just making it so that you, making it so you just get that by leveling up, because there's no decision-making to be made when your skill tree is that shitty, right? Doing 2% more damage or getting 5 more defense doesn't impact anything at all. For that to impact anything, there need to be like a couple dozen nodes for it to actually make any kind of difference in how you're playing the game. But they put all that stuff in there because they know that it's popular. Even though not every game needs it. This game pretty much just has the loot. The loot is all fixed drops. There's no RNG. But you also get like cool properties and stuff, so you can still make builds. It's just there's not like 800 different versions of them and stuff. You don't have to do a map over and over to get things. I think Avengers is a good example of that. They had like nobody on that team that could make interesting loot. And like nobody that could do it. And like if you're not gonna put effort into the loot, then you should not have it at all. Like I think the worst thing about Avengers was you only had 9 slots for loot in that game. So you constantly had to go and pause and disassemble stuff. I'm like, if you're gonna give me a bunch of useless stuff, I should at least have space for it, right? That's one of the things that the Neo games and Stranger of Paradise did is they gave you a lot of space. Now, you got a lot of junk in that game, but at least you could get rid of it quickly. And it wasn't like, it didn't feel like you had to manage your inventory like every few minutes. Avengers was like, we're gonna give you a bunch of useless stuff, but we also give you no room to actually use it. To actually hold it. So you end up just going in there and getting rid of useless trinkets all the time. There was no loot filter or anything. I actually really liked Neo loot, just because it was... There were a lot of different ways that you could play the game, and yes, there was too much of it, but at least it actually did something, and there are a lot of different ways that you could play and approach the game, and obviously some of them were better than others. I mean, you can't expect it to all be on the same level, but, you know, you could still get through the game with everything, since they made it skill-based. I think that's one of the things they really screwed up in Stranger of Paradise, was adding the gacha game MMO power level thing, which was like garbage. Because it basically made it so your first playthrough, literally nothing that you picked up meant anything, because you had to put the biggest number on. I think that was like the dumbest thing that they added. It added nothing to the game at all. That's definitely one of those games that's like those memes where people say that this game doesn't get fun until you're 30 hours in. That's definitely how Stranger of Paradise was. They really messed that up. If you're gonna give me a bunch of useless stuff on the first playthrough, even if the loot is gonna get better later on, like, it should actually do something. There should be some kind of decision-making involved instead of just... This makes the number go up. This makes the number go up, and that's the only thing that matters, is how high the number goes up. Instead of actually having to make meaningful decisions. Showtime! I need to go, I need to send this to myself on Discord. I got a text file with all the figures. I need to send it to myself on I need to send it to myself on, what's it called, Discord. so I can look at it on my phone. Let's see here. There we go. Go ahead and pin it. So I don't quite remember all the figures. There we go. Nice. Okay. So let me look at what I've got and see if I have anything good. This is Shouta form from O's. Let me look at the B rank ones specifically. Forze, Fire States. It helps that I actually know most of the forms. I could actually read it. Yeah, there's some fun stuff in this game, like guard cancels and stuff, but I don't think I have any of them yet. Forze Elect States. I've only got base and Fire States. Let's see here. Got Wizard Water Style. Doesn't do anything. Guy Pine Arms and Strawberry Arms. See if those do anything. Takes a while to get the really fun ones that let you do cancels and shit, but I'm just checking. See what I've got. Homeboy right here doesn't do anything. He increases combo count, which doesn't really matter. That doesn't really do much. Got another homeboy right here, Kabuto. Blade King form, guard cancel. I don't have Blade King form, do I? Nah. It's probably around here. I'm just gonna go with basic bitch stuff for now. Yeah, you don't get the really cool property changing stuff in this game until like much later, so kinda gotta roll with the punches a little bit. Might be some figures in here actually.
今日は全品 20% オフすごいでしょ
特売日だってさ
お安売り本日はすべて 20% オフこれ以上主に恥をかかせるなよお安売りだぜ俺は天の道を行き全てを司る男よく見ておけ本当の太陽の輝きをとっとと片付けるどんどん行こうか俺に任せ俺は一番強い
Cast off.
キャストオフならこっちも
さてと行きますかよ
お待たせ俺はすでに勝利を掴んでいる俺も仲間になる多いね
最高。
ないけどね
俺
俺も仲間に入れてよ
Clock over. Clock over.
Because of laws.
Clock over. Clock over.
まとめていくぜ
Psycho.
Clock over.
おばあちゃんが言っていた世界の中心は俺だ
Clock over. Clock over.
ライダーキック
I forgot I already pushed all the buttons. Oops.
Clock over. Clock over.
俺も仲間にリーダーだ
Clock over.
俺も仲間に入れてよ
Clock over.
やるねしっかり鍛えてるみたいだ
Did you guys hear there's like I think the last week of February there's like 7 high-profile games coming out. It's like the new Yakuza is coming out, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Under Night and Birth 2, Persona 3 Remake, Suicide Squad. There's something else I don't remember. They're all coming out within like a week of each other. What the hell happened to video games, man? Used to be like... Around this time was the drought. That's what I grew up with. Around this time, up until like maybe late October, early November, there'd be like no games to play. But now all of a sudden, there's like, it's just been non-stop. I've actually been really thankful that I don't really like a lot of the popular games, because I'd have no money and no time to play them. It'd be impossible to play all those games, pretty much. Yeah, February is looking pretty stacked. Out of those games, I'm really only planning on getting Under Night and Grand Blue Relink. I'm not really interested in any of the other games. Yeah, I'd be interested in the Yakuza game if it wasn't turn-based. Turn-based is a major turn-off for me. Hello.
Clock over. Clock over. Clock on.
俺に任せて始めていくぜ
Yeah, I've been seeing some people say they want to buy that game just for Spike Out. Spike Out hasn't had like a port